Who are farming's biggest bad guys? Some say the government, others say the supermarkets. Right now, we reckon it's the crows. Aimpoint Academy runner-up George Lawrence shows us his skills intercepting corvids.
I've actually got adrenaline from that.
We have a gun grab story where you may be able to help. Lewis Dedman had his guns seized by the police. He can get them back with a psychiatric report, but he can't get that report because he had his guns seized by the police. Do you know a medical professional who can solve this?
I've approached, I would say, in excess of 20 different private practitioners. A lot of the time you don't even get through the phone call with them because as soon as you mention the issue in the firearms, they say, sorry, we're not going to touch that.
We are at the English Open Sporting at Doveridge, the first of the CPSA's major championships of the 2024 season, which had a surprise finish. And you may see a prominent clay shooter bearing his bottom in a shop window as a result. Find out more. Terry Doe has more airgun tips for Dan Thor. David is enthroned on the news stump with Fieldsports News, and James brings you the latest YouTube hunting films in this week's Hunting YouTube. Welcome to Fieldsports Britain. We first came across George Lawrence last year when Aimpoint chose him to take part in its Aimpoint Academy. The 22-year-old farmer impressed the instructors but just missed out to the winners, Johannes and Jules, whom David filmed in Sweden on a 3-day driven boar hunt. It's not quite the same, but as he came so close, we're spending a couple of hours with George flighting crows and jackdaws around his family's dairy farm in Essex.
Doing first cut soon, but they have a lot of issues. They're just in there all the time. And obviously being in here and how many times they poo a day, it just gets all in the feed everywhere. And we've got slow lagoon that side and got the muck. They walk through all of that, walk on top of that, then come in, walk on the cow food. It's just not good for the cows.
He's not even fired a shot, and his eager spaniel Bo is on a sick-looking bird.
For the first crow?
We'll see how we get on.
He didn't fire a shot. That's not bad, is it? But she's all right with picking up corvids, is she?
She's what I call my rough dog, so I don't mind almost ruining her, essentially, on pigeons and crows. Good all-round beating dog and has a mind of her own, so there'll probably be some conflict later, but good at what she does. We'll try in here first.
George wants to move on the birds as they're now nesting directly above the farm's pheasant pens.
You happy now?
I've actually got adrenaline from that.
The birds are not silly, and even though there's been a lot of traffic to and from the nests, they're staying away now, so we need to be more stealthy. By coincidence, George received the new Aimpoint S-2 in the post this morning.
Bizarrely, this wasn't planned at all, but you had an Acro S-2 actually come to the post today, which is just a bit freaky.
Yeah, we were on the way back for some lunch and saying about how annoyingly I've got an S2 on its way, but it's not here yet, and we get to the front door and there it is. A lot of people think it's something that will make you shoot straight, like a scope. I find it's good in situations where you're sort of quick snap shooting or driven game. As soon as you mount the gun, that red dot is there. I don't know, that split second I think makes a big difference. I found it in my pigeon decoying a lot.
Our fortunes change when we move to a small clearing with the nest site 70 yards to our left. It's no wonder George did so well at the academy. He's shooting really well and he's using steel. That's pretty much all he's using now.
That's a nice shot.
I'm happy with that one.
There's some ranges with these still.
Yeah, and that's why I say on ducks, without tooting my own horn, some of the ducks I've shot with steel is like the range is unbelievable. And I noticed that in the game as well. I've shot some incredible pheasants this season and partridge as well, some really long crosses with steel and just folds them just like that. 2 I've had. Well done. Good girl.
George is shooting a Browning, which he saved hard for.
It's a Browning Ultra XS Pro. They're limited edition exquisite. They do the exquisite in 525.
Why that then? Why'd you go for that?
The engraving, I love the exquisite engraving. I sort of like quite unique stuff. It's a nice stock, it's not just chunky stock. You sort of know you're holding it.
Can I ask how much sort of ballpark that sort of gun is?
Around 4.5, I think. 4.5 to 5 this cost me.
Wow.
It was actually, yeah, it was. I treated myself after a very busy summer of harvest, and it's actually my first ever shotgun I bought for myself. So I went from a God knows how old Miracle 600 to, which was like a trench gun, sort of really short and done the job though, to this. So.
Gun for life, you think?
Yeah, definitely. And it's a Browning, so it won't break. So, touch wood.
It's one of those steady outings where you actually get more than you think. It's a plodgy afternoon, but a useful one.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. We started off a bit ropey, but yeah, we got there in the end. 15, 20 crows maybe. There's quite a few we can't get that are in real thick stuff. So maybe 4 or 5 pigeons. It wasn't a blank anyway. It wasn't. It could have been worse. So.
Yeah. It wasn't Sweden, eh? But never mind. It's close.
No. Well, the boar season starts again soon. Alex.
For more information about Browning shotguns, go to browning.eu, and to look at Aimpoint's S-2, check out our rabbit shooting film with Wayne, or head to aimpoint.com. Links to all of those below. Thanks, George. Now, in this week's Fieldsports Extra, we have a full quota of links, the CPSA Chief Executive, and a big fan of Layla the Lawyer.
Amazing.
We are giving away a £250 peg on a simulated game day at Halston Hall in Shropshire, ably supported by local gun shop Rural Sports Gunroom. There's a link to it below. Easiest way to win it is to watch Fieldsports Extra, which goes out the night before this show, only to Fieldsports members, now with insurance. Easiest way to watch Fieldsports Extra is to join those members. The Fieldsports Nation will send you a goodie box. Our insurance covers you for legal issues over certificate renewal, and all members with or without insurance get free access to our FAB, F-A-B, Field Sports Advice Bureau. Layla the Lawyer is there to help you with field sports related issues. We've put out an explainer video about it, linked to it below. Better still, come and see us at the National Shooting Show this weekend and sign up. Next, from FAB to our own blunder nerd, it is David on the Field Sports Channel News Stump.
This is Fieldsports Channel News. West Mercia Police has abandoned plans for online-only applications for firearms and shotgun certificates, thanks to Basque. The force appeared to be heading towards a system which only allowed online submissions. It said it would refuse to accept paper applications because it wanted what it called a digital audit trail. After Basque wrote to West Mercia's Chief Constable, the constabulary said it has clarified its ruling. It now says it prefers online submissions, but will accept a manual application too. In another victory for Basque, the shooting organisation has persuaded Cumbria's Chief Constable to act to help clear the backlog of certificate applications. Basque Head of Firearms Martin Parker met the Head of Cumbria's Force Rob Carden to persuade him to act to reduce waiting times for submissions. The Cumbrian region has one of the largest numbers of firearms and shotgun certificate holders in the UK. Since the meeting, Cumbria has allocated more resources to clear its backlog. It says it's reduced firearm certificate waits by 30% and shotguns by 42%. A filmmaker has charted the decline of one of Britain's greatest rivers. Underwater filming specialist Mark Barrow took these shots in the River Wharfe in Yorkshire in 2019. Large shoals of fish can clearly be seen feeding on the river bed. 5 years on, the river looks like this. Mark says the area is now devoid of fish life and blames Yorkshire Water for problems with water quality. You can see the promo for Mark's latest film in the link below.
We can't carry on the road that we're going because I'll give the River Wharfe 5 years. That's my estimate.
The British Shooting Show has managed to beat a social media ban on Facebook. Facebook took down the official page of the event in April 2024. It has now put it back up to help promote the show at the NEC in February 2025. It comes after a publicity campaign from British Shooting Show with the slogan, "Gun isn't a dirty word." Click on the link below to support the show on Facebook. However, Facebook gives back with one hand and takes with the other. That's what Eric Irish and his team at Devon and online airgun shop Crackshot discovered. It too lost its Facebook page with more than 5,000 followers after it was accused of breaching rules concerning posts about guns. Now Eric has started a new page which avoids the use of the word gun. It refers to Crackshot as an outdoor pursuits retailer instead. It now promotes used gun sales as pre-owned stock and can even get away with using gun emojis on posts as long as it doesn't use the actual word. Crackshot is back up and running on Facebook with just over 250 followers and has issued a plea to their old customers to come back. Link to its page also below.
We followed all of the rules that are on their site. As a bricks and mortar store, we're allowed to advertise guns. We have lost about 5,000 contacts and it accounted for a large portion of our business.
New research shows that red squirrels are not as cuddly as some think. A study has uncovered that red squirrels kept as pets in medieval times probably carried leprosy. As these ancient artworks show, red squirrels were kept on leads and given collars with bells on. Scientists from the University of Leicester, working with colleagues from across Europe, found the leprosy genome in animal remains discovered on archaeological sites. They believe the squirrels passed the disease to humans. Abita is encouraging his shoot to back a fundraiser for Salisbury Hospice. 7-year-old James Borden got the wind whistle shoot in Wiltshire to help him raise cash for the hospice where his grandfather, pictured here with young James, died in 2023. James beats on the shoot and his father and sister both pick up there. He is pictured here between gamekeeper Dan Down and shoot owner Ali Thorne. James has raised more than £1,000. A plan to help save the rare capercaillie in France is being blocked by conservationists. Last month, the French government announced a project to release 40 of the woodland grouse species every year to try and help dwindling numbers recover. It's feared there are only 10 of the birds left in their only habitat in France, which is near the German border. Now 5 conservation groups have filed a legal challenge in opposition to the €200,000 plan, which would see stocks replenished using birds from Norway. They claim the local habitat won't support a larger population of the birds. And finally, 4 zebras that escaped from a trailer and went on the run in the USA have been recaptured. The zebras escaped when their owner broke down on the roadside in Washington state and opened the back of the trailer to check on their well-being. They bolted. They were eventually recovered after a statewide appeal. The final escapee of the 4 was captured 6 days after going on the run, after a 3-hour operation. You are now up to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stuck in the stories, fishing for facts.
Thank you, David. And as ever, David asks if you can like and subscribe under this film. Thank you. Next, David's been out reporting, and in this film, he meets another victim of a police gun grab. Most UK shooters will know someone like Lewis Dedman.
First roebuck.
Not bad for your first roebuck, is it?
He studied game and wildlife management at Sparsholt College. He now runs a successful pest control business. He enjoys all kinds of shooting and fishing. His passion is deer and deer management.
My favourite animal is a deer. I just adore deer. And then the first question you get is, well, then why do you do what you do? And it's because I love these deer that I do that.
A year ago, Kent police came to his home and seized his rifles and shotguns, and with them a significant part of his livelihood and an integral part of who he is.
Close to £15,000-20,000 worth of gear there that was seized. It has not only impacted me financially, but it has impacted me in terms of my permissions. I can't even say to my clients, this is when I'm going to have my firearms back, so this is when I can come and do the work for you. It's very much a case of they ring me every month and I say, I don't know any more at the moment.
Lewis and his wife had had an argument. He'd gone for a walk to clear his head, and when he returned an hour later, there was a police car outside their home.
I didn't know the full context of it until I actually walked into the house, but I had a general gist of what might be happening. When I walked in, I was approached by two officers. There was a female officer and a male officer. The male officer took me to one side and started saying that they were doing a bit of a welfare check on me because there'd been reports that I was potentially suicidal. To which I replied, I'm just tired and I want to go to bed, which is the honest truth, because at this time it was about 11 o'clock in the evening and I'd had a very long day. They weren't allowing me to speak to my wife at this point. They were separating us, so I couldn't even speak to my wife and say, what's going on, what's happening here. Once that call was made to the police, it initiated a whole sequence of events that basically were unstoppable.
They are unstoppable. They're doing the job at this point, aren't they?
It's understandable, especially in the light of all the incidents that have been happening in the last few years that have come to light. I can understand it from their perspective, but my wife did tell me that she rang them back almost instantly after she'd spoken to them and said, actually, that was a bit of a mistake on my part and maybe you shouldn't come out, there's no threat. But again, the wheels were already in motion at that point. So they had these talks about the suicidal things and that was their first angle that they came at me at, but the conversation quite quickly changed to, where are the firearms? We're going to take your firearms. To which my response was, if that's the case, then you're going to need to get firearms officers out here, which I believe we discussed earlier is not something that a lot of people would really think to say, but just your run-of-the-mill police officers aren't licensed to make safe firearms or take firearms. This caused a slight problem for me in the fact that all of the firearms unit were currently on a major incident somewhere else within the area. So they couldn't get someone out to me for about 4 or 5 hours, which meant I was sitting with these officers in my house for about 4 or 5 hours. They'd removed my wife from the situation. They'd also woken up my son and taken him away as well, because they said to me that I was a threat to my son, which really impacted me. And at that point, it was just me and the officers sitting here. And even in that time, they were hounding me to get into the gun cabinets to have a look at the guns. And I just kept reiterating the point that they're not allowed to. And I have to wait for the firearms unit before I can act on anything. Once they took the firearms, I was quite lucky. The guy that came allowed me to, he made safe all of the firearms. And then he allowed me to pack them into boxes as I wanted them to be stored in the police station. He allowed me to oil them up and everything before they went, so they should hopefully still be in good condition. And then just before they left, they said to me that I had to sign a form saying that I'd voluntarily surrendered my firearms, and I made the point that I hadn't surrendered my firearms, they were seized. So they changed the documentation to say that before I then signed it, and they left with everything. I was sitting on the doorstep, just 4 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't even tell you the emotion that was going through my head at that time. It was an amalgamation of so many different emotions that I felt in my life. And I was stunned. I didn't know what to do. My dad rang me because I'd been ringing him constantly during the ordeal, because my dad is my go-to guy. If I've got a problem, I always go to my dad. He always has the answers for everything. And he rang me back at about 6 in the morning, and I was still sitting on the doorstep in a daze. He was talking to me, and I sort of gave him the gist of what was going on, but I don't think I could even process it in my head at that point with the amount of emotional turmoil I'd gone through, but also that it was just physically draining to me. It really did sap all of my energy out of me.
Lewis now finds himself between a rock and a hard place. He says Kent police won't return his guns without a psychiatric report. He has not found anyone in the medical world who will conduct one because of the reasons he needs one. Lewis needs a medical professional who can assess him.
So your FAC and your shotgun certificate, did they take those at the time?
So those have been seized. There was never any talk about revoking them or anything like that. They've just automatically put me onto a review, which on the face of it seems very straightforward, but they've sort of left me with a bit of a conundrum because I would deem myself to be in purgatory at the moment, caught between the police officers and, the police force and my GPs or mental health practitioners, because the police have come back to me and said that in order for me to get my guns back and my licenses, I would need to produce a mental health assessment. And again, on the face of it, that sounds very easy, but when you start speaking to these private practitioners about doing a mental health assessment, they don't want to be any part of it, which I can understand, because I think that they see it as the police trying to palm off the issue onto them if anything were to happen once the guns are returned to me, in the light of everything that's been going on over the past couple of years. So quite rightly, these practitioners are very cautious about whether they want to put their name to that, and that's the issue I have at the moment. I need to get this mental health assessment. I've never had any mental health issues on my mental history, my medical history. But unfortunately, the letter that my GP sent to the police mentioned things like my cancer when I was 18. It mentioned the aftermath of the surgery that I had for that, none of which implicates my firearms at all. But right at the very end of it, the police, when they were here, they signed me up to a counselling session, which I opted out of after the incident. I accepted it at the time, but I opted out of it because I didn't think at the time that it was beneficial to me. But he put on there that I hadn't attended that, and the police saw that as there could be a mental health issue here, so now we need another report. And I've been in this same position for about 8 months now.
So do you think if you'd taken that counsellor's appointment, you might be in a different position?
I kick myself every day because I think, why didn't I just go to that? Because at least then I would have a trail of what's going on, someone talking to me and seeing that there is no mental health issues.
But you've tried different practitioners, you've tried
So,
NHS and private?
I have, yes. So I started with the GP, which was the first place that the police pointed me to. They then said to go to Shoot Cert to speak to them, but they quite quickly came back and said it's not something that they would really do. So I went back to my FEO again and said, this is where I'm at, what do I do here? And he said, well, we need the mental health assessment, so you're going to have to go privately with it. I've approached, I would say, in excess of 20 different private practitioners. A lot of the time you don't even get through the phone call with them, because as soon as you mention the issue and the firearms, they say, sorry, we're not going to touch that.
Lewis contacted us after watching our gun grab story with Phil Weymouth a few weeks ago. He decided to tell his story to a wider audience, as there may be help out there within our community to try and resolve this situation. He also wants to encourage those without legal expenses insurance to get themselves covered.
There's one bit of advice I can give to anyone else, whether they're currently going through something similar to this, or they have fear that it could happen, or even if you wouldn't dream in a million years it would happen. Because if you go back a year ago and ask me, I would say never. It would just never be an issue. The one bit of advice I would like to give everyone, and I hope everyone can take from this, is you need a decent insurance with legal cover in this situation. You'd hope you're never going to need them, but when you do, you're so glad that you have them. It makes life a lot easier.
You're still with your wife?
I am still with my wife, yes. I love my wife very much.
And you're expecting a baby?
And we've got another baby on the way, yeah, so we're going to have 2 of them. So. Different kind of pest control, that one.
This is how Home Secretary Priti Patel's knee-jerk reaction to the Plymouth shootings has left gun ownership in the UK. In the meantime, Lewis has signed up to our Fieldsports membership, giving him access to some fab advice from our in-house lawyer Layla. So if someone has any advice or experience of this situation, we'd be grateful if you'd get in touch, especially if you are a medical professional who can do the psychiatric report. Drop me, charlie@fieldsportschannel.tv, a line, and I can put you in touch with Lewis. Thanks, Lewis, for telling your story, and I will pass on any practical help anyone can offer him. Now, last weekend saw the English Open Sporting take place at Doveridge Shooting Ground in Derbyshire, and what a competition. There is a mountain to climb at the English Open Sporting Championships, and that's not just the slog up the steep valley at Doveridge Shooting Ground to the final stand at the top of the hill. The 120 bird course is a tough one, and the targets get progressively harder as you climb towards that final stand 15. On the plus side, there's a fantastic view from the top across the Derbyshire countryside. James Bradley Day hit a phenomenal high score of 117 out of 120 on day 2 of the 5-day event. Even Clive Bramley, who set the targets with his father Steve, is aghast and confidently predicts that that will be the winning score.
It was an awesome score. I mean, I expected a 115 is what I was expecting. With calm conditions, 115. I think 117 will be a tough one to beat. If they do, they've got to get to stand 10, I think, straight to have a chance. So far, we've had a few shooters, 1 or 2 down, so the pressure's on the tough stuff up the valley. But if they tomorrow or later today, there's still some good shots out there. If they can get to that stand 10 straight, I think they've got a chance.
Nick Hendrick, fresh from winning the Essex Masters a week earlier, goes one further, posting on Facebook that he will bare his bum in a shop window if anyone beats James's score. It's a promise he'll come to regret. The English Open Sporting is the first of the CPSA's major championships each season and attracts more than 1,000 entries from all over the country. It's been a while since the event was last at Doveridge.
Over 10 years since we've been here for a major championship. We've done selection shoots and some other shoots here, and we're always really looked after by Clive and the team, so it's great to be back. We've been blessed with the weather. We had a bit of a wet afternoon yesterday, but a bit of sunshine and obviously the wind. We've had a really good sort of still couple of days, so it's been great. We've got sort of, a whole host of sponsors. We're lucky. We've been working with them a long time. Our headline sponsors are Browning, Ely, Swatcom, Le Chameau and Schofel all support the championships with both cash and product prizes. Some of them are here with us this week, and they're great. They've really become friends and part of the family, really support our championships and make what it is, so we're forever thankful. For high gun runner-up and 3rd overall, Browning have kindly donated 3 guns, which is great. And in addition, we've got guns that Browning donate throughout the year for all our championships. So, we're really, it's really great to have such a good sponsor in Browning and the way they support us and our championships. Really a long-term partner for us, and they've just introduced a really good initiative we're working with them, which is cartridges for Colts. And that's a program where every Colt that enters any of the major championships receives a slab of cartridges when they arrive and check in. So again, thanks to them. Obviously, they understand, we understand the cost of shooting's going up, so to try and help Colts especially, in that, give them a slab of cartridges, they've sort of won something even before they've started.
At the heart of the ground is Premier Guns, one of the biggest Browning dealers in the country. Josh Wilson says the Browning competition range of guns is popular with clay shooters.
Yeah, so you'd probably see a lot of pro sports out there, sporters, adjustables, very popular guns, equally as popular as the 525, if not 525 a little bit more, especially like the XS Pro. I know Sam Green shoots XS Pro, I think he's shooting the Crown at the moment. So, but yeah, Browning have got a lot of good sporting guns out there. At the moment, just on the racks, if you can see, we've got the 525 Crowns, which were the limited edition XS Pros that they've recently released. We've got the 75 Medallions in both Hunter, which is the game version, and the Sporters as well. So we're quite lucky because we are a major Browning account. We do see some of the special stuff first, and yeah, it does really well for us. We're really happy with Browning.
It's the final day, the sun is out, and James Bradley Day's score still leads the pack. Behind him are 6 shooters tied on 114, so it looks like we might have a mammoth shoot-off to decide 2nd and 3rd. This is a first past the post competition, so it could all change right at the last minute. World champion Sam Green is looking good as he heads up the hill to the last few stands. He makes short work of the uphill white target that has spoiled so many scorecards over the past few days. In the end, his 113 isn't enough to trouble the leaders. Another world champion, Richard Bunning, falls short with 112. With just a few squads to shoot, yet another world champion, Mark Windsor, is heading up the hill. He reaches stand 13 and so far he's only missed a single target. That 117 is still within reach. Moments later he's celebrating what seemed impossible, scooping the championship with a phenomenal 119.
Well, I mean, when you've got to score 117 out of 120 on the board early in the week, it certainly sets a mountain for people to climb to try and equal, let alone beat it. But yeah, no, personally speaking, it helps me knowing what I've got to beat. If I didn't know what I'd got to beat, I don't know if I would have still won it, in all honesty. Today it sent me into quite a determined drive to just beat the score, let alone get the trophy. It was just a good challenge on the board, and yeah, very, very happy with it. The target's built up steadily, really. You might say the first 4 to 5 stands were pretty much all there, and then the further up the valley you got, the tougher it gets. And certainly the last 3 stands were no easy stands at all. They were on the limits. They were really, really tough. So yeah, to go there one away and then come across 3 stands like that certainly puts the pressure on you. If you look at the scores, so 3rd place, James Bradley Day 117, then Billy Bourne 118, and myself 119. So it was just, the level of shooting nowadays is just, it's astronomical. I mean, what people are capable of doing in this day and age, I don't think it matters if the targets are all round your ears or not. The standard of shooting is that high now. So you really have to be on your game and not make any mistakes anywhere.
You can find the full list of scores on the CPSA website, and for more about Browning guns, go to browning.eu. Thank you all who took part in that. We're on air guns next as Terry Doe teaches Dan Thor more practical skills.
When I was watching Dan in his earlier video, he was taking a lot of shots at a steep angle. And this gives me the ideal opportunity to address a problem that many people have asked me about over the years. When you're shooting on a sharp incline, do you aim higher or lower? Well, the first part of that is very easy. You aim a tiny bit lower. That's all. Gravity has its most profound effect on the horizontal. When you come away from the horizontal, either up or down, the effect of gravity is reduced. So your projectile isn't falling as fast. But there's a bigger deal to all this, and I'd really like you to understand it, because you're going to be doing a lot of elevated shots. The priority is not working out how many millimeters to aim low, because at what you're doing and the yardage you're shooting at, it's only going to ever be about 6 or 7 mil. Yeah. The priority is getting stable for this shot, and that's what too many people forget. Your priority, whenever you're shooting at whatever you're shooting at, is to get stable, not to work out the nth degree aim point. So when this say you're using sticks, you raise this to the sort of best height it does. Okay. You're going to sometimes you're going to have to drop a little bit to get behind that. Concentrate on stability and doing everything that you've learned today and deploying that to your target. Even if you take no notice at all of the newly required aim point, you'll still have miles more success than if you worry yourself sick about aiming that far low and you compromise on your technique. That's a fairly straightforward thing. Get your technique right first, and then if you are shooting at 40 yards at a 60-degree angle, you may have to aim half an inch low with a legal limit 177, but half an inch low will still take the head of a feral pigeon or a rabbit or as a rat on the rafters. Yeah. Get yourself stabilised first. Use that as your priority. Get the shot right, then worry about how much you've got to aim off. Yeah. But you never aim high. You always aim a tiny bit low. Yeah. All right.
So the further away the target, though, would you have to aim a lot lower? Or
no, it's never a lot lower because it won't become viable then. Okay.
it'll be non-viable. So you're only looking at 35 yards at the most.
Yeah.
And if it's at a very steep angle, it'll be half an inch or so. But you'll be paid off better by concentrating on your technique rather than worrying about aiming off.
You wouldn't think it would change the shot, would you? Like having a straight line dead in front or
Well, it's not.
vertical.
It's not a lot of power though. 11.5 foot, but it's plenty to knock rabbits over out to 40 odd yards.
Yeah.
But if you start messing around with gravity, there will be an effect. But people worry about it. And I'll tell you what we're going to do next. We're going to tackle the shots people should worry about more, and they don't. And that's the ultra close range ones.
Yeah.
All right?
Thanks, Terry and Dan. Now from pellets to the wider world of hunting and shooting on YouTube. Brought to you by James Marchington, it's Hunting YouTube.
This is Hunting YouTube, which aims to show the latest and best hunting and shooting videos that YouTube has to offer. Here's what I've picked for you this week. First up, here's Rob Speed responding to a call from a farmer to protect his spring trillings from damage by corvids. He sets up his hide and decoys and has a successful couple of hours in a rare bit of lovely spring sunshine. Wash Wildfowler is really taken with his new Coffs 410 over and under, and in this one he's out again with his friend Carl, making some impressive shots at pigeons as they come into his dead bird decoys. Alan from Daneham Outdoors has been getting out and about again. He's stalking April roebucks, and with one already in the bag and a few hours of daylight left, he heads out for a second. Full marks for persistence to James Crowther, aka the cigar smoking hunter, who's been sending me his videos regularly. Well, James, it's finally paid off. This one follows him stalking roe in the morning and evening with a bit of bonus rabbit shooting. Thanks to Keith Jones for sending in this film from his channel Pest Control and Deer Management UK, which delivers exactly what it says on the tin. He's in the hills of Shropshire, shooting foxes to protect the farmers' new lambs. Here's one that slipped past me a month ago. Not sure how I missed it. Johnny Carter of TGS Outdoors is shooting world-class high partridges at the mighty Garth in Wales, a shoot run by Fieldsports member James Davis Cook. Steve Ranella from the Meat Eater channel takes American former professional football player Clay Matthews for a taste of duck hunting US style, shooting incoming mallard from a frozen duck blind. And finally, from Kentucky, here's an interesting look at how deer biologists are using a remote-controlled thermal camera mounted on the roof of the truck to count white-tailed deer. Well, that's it for this week. I've put all these films into a playlist for you. Click on the eye symbol top right or check this film's description. If you have a YouTube film you'd like us to pop into the weekly top 8, email me the link, jamesm@fieldsportschannel.tv.
And that's it for this week. If you haven't done so already, please whiz over to our website, fieldsportschannel.tv. You can click to like us there on Facebook and on Instagram. You can follow us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube, pop your email address into our register page, and we'll contact you about this show, Fieldsports Britain. It's at 7 p.m. UK time every Wednesday. And this has been Fieldsports Britain. Good hunting, good shooting, good fishing, and goodbye.